Curious, what is a genuinely terrifying true fact? Before we start with the first story, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Number 25. That if you eat bear meat that isn't well cooked, you will receive parasites. Now these things will slowly eat their way out of your body until they can burrow out of your skin. So probably a good idea not to eat it in the first place. Number 24. We make human suffering profitable. The world produces enough food that no one needs to starve, but it's not profitable, so people die. We have enough clean water. We don't need to produce so much waste. On and on and on, it comes back to people suffering because they can't make someone rich even richer. Number 23. If you have an infection severe enough, your body may eventually kill itself by attempting to save you. It's called sepsis, and it's an overreaction of your immune system, often leading to organ failure due to a dramatic decrease in blood pressure, among other things. At its highest severity, it is known as septic shock, and patients often need to be put into a medically induced coma. It's the cause of about half of the deaths in hospitals, and the initial infection doesn't even have to be that bad. What's scarier is that even routine dental appointments can cause this. Earlier this year, I had to have a tooth pulled which had cracked and developed an abscess. Duck and ouch. Within an hour, I was in the hospital with a heart rate of nearly 200, plummeting blood pressure, extreme mental confusion, and I was shaking so badly that I couldn't breathe properly. I was told that after the tooth was pulled by my dentist, bacteria entered my bloodstream through the open socket, and I would have gone into septic shock had I made it to the hospital any later. I was in the hospital for 5 days, and I'm lucky to be alive. A lot of the time, when a bacterial infection kills you, it's your brain and body that actually pull the trigger. Number 22. Unlike other predatory animals, bears do not know how to kill their prey before they start eating. They just start eating their prey while it's completely alive and conscious. Number 21. Nearly half of the American population is obese. Number 20. With our lifespan increasing due to modern medicine, we are at an increased chance of developing dementia. After seeing a close family member slowly wither away, having machines basically keeping them alive, and having zero quality of life, I never understood the purpose. We should prioritize quality, not quantity, and if someone is ready to go, have that conversation, and let them make a decision. A loved one confided in me when he was lucid that he wanted it all to end. Wish I could have helped. Number 19. Half of the world's coral reefs have died in the last 30 years, and 2/3 of the Great Barrier Reef has been damaged by coral bleaching. This actually made me sad. Coral reefs are some of the most beautiful things in the world, and they're dying. Genuinely depressing. Number 18. I got one. So years ago, I started losing my balance and losing feeling in my legs. As they told me I have only about 5 more years to live, they did an MRI to see how bad the lesions were in my brain. They thought I had NS. So once I do the MRI, they're like, you need to see an ENT or nose and throat doctor right away. So I'm like, do tell me about the MS. And all they do is keep repeating, go to the ENT. So I go to the ENT, and he explains they think I have a giant fungal growth taking up the entirety of my sinus cavities and pressing on my brain. So after medication, a super painful surgery where they had to break my nose and sinuses to get it out, medical stents that were made on a 3D printer using some hardened medicine, and about 4 months of healing, I was back to normal-ish. The horrifying part, the fungus comes from the feces of chickens, and it is being introduced to the air by haulers moving chickens. Everyone in the U.S. breeds in these spores regularly, but it mostly takes hold in people with compromised immune systems. Settling into lungs is most common, and is often mistaken for lung cancer at first. Number 17. Women are 8 times more likely to be when they are pregnant. Former domestic violence counselor here. One of the leading causes of death in pregnant women is by intimate partner. Number 16. People can die suddenly without warning or symptoms of anything significant to give a warning. Source: lost my wife 4 years ago when she was only 23 to a heart attack precipitated by non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. No symptoms or risk factors leading up to it. She was skinny in shape, energetic, and didn't use drugs. Just got home from work one day and she was gone. Very sorry for your loss. I had a buddy die from a brain aneurysm. 26 years old, in seemingly excellent health. Went to a business conference one day and was dead the next. Ever since, I've been terrified of aneurysms, Number 15. I guess this isn't terrifying, but the Pillars of Creation, that amazing feature in the Eagle Nebula that is super famous and amazing looking, doesn't exist anymore. It was wiped out by a supernova some 7,000 years ago, and given that it is 6,000 to 6,500 light years away, we can still see it, but in the next 500 to 1,000 years, astronomers will no longer see it in the night sky. Though I assume they'll see a really amazing supernova, which could equally be as awesome. Imagine spending your life at just the right moment in history that you can watch a supernova unfold and wipe out a massive 4 to 5 light-year tall iconic feature in our galaxy. Number 14. Antibiotic treatments are becoming less and less effective, and common infections and minor injuries could become life-threatening. As someone that has used them at least once or twice a year, antibiotic resistance is genuinely terrifying to me. It's like bacterial infections becoming viral ones. Number 13. In about 150 years from now, who you are and the life you've lived will be forgotten by those who will be alive in 2173. Don't believe me? Then tell me about your great-great-great-grandparents and what they were like. Number 12. According to the second law of thermodynamics, the spread of warmth is an irreversible process. The only reason something cools down is that the warmth spreads without new warmth being produced. Considering the fact that there is lots of energy, and therefore warmth, being produced in the universe, there could become a time when the spread of warmth has reached its maximum, resulting in the so-called heat death of the universe. This is currently the most likely scenario how it ends. Having said that, it will take a very, very long time, depending on what goes faster, the spread of the warmth or the expansion of the universe. On the other hand, if the expansion goes faster than the spread of warmth, the result will be the opposite, the end of the universe and a big chill. So if I have understood this right, every time you light a match, you accelerate the end of the universe a microscopic little bit. Number 11. When electricity was first made available for home use, the wires were not insulated and not hidden behind walls. People had live wires freestanding in their homes, at an arm's reach. Utter terrifying insanity. Number 10. There's no way to actually communicate your experiences to anyone. When you talk to someone, all they get are the words, and must then translate them in terms of their own pre-existing knowledge and experiences. If I tell you I saw an interesting tree yesterday, the tree image in your mind will be quite different from what I saw. We can use more and more words to describe it, but actually, there's no way to create a perfect model in your mind. All models are wrong/incomplete. What you end up with is the bare minimum, shoddy caricature of the tree. Number 9. The poles of the Earth act as a planet-wide ice cooler, and they are melting. Most people don't understand the scientific concept of latent heat. The transition from ice to water requires energy, and the absorption of this energy is called latent heat. Latent heat can be understood as hidden energy that is supplied or extracted to change the state of a substance, for example, to melt or vaporize it, without changing its temperature or pressure. This includes the latent heat of fusion, solid to liquid, the latent heat of vaporization, liquid to gas, and the latent heat of sublimation, solid to gas. When the Arctic Ocean is covered with ice, the water temperature remains at 0 degrees centigrade. But when the ice is gone and there is open water, all the sunlight that had previously been absorbed by ice now raises the temperature of the water dramatically. Once the ice is gone, there will be an abrupt rise in temperature, and the cooling effect of the North Pole will be reduced in a dramatic fashion. This will change the climate throughout the Earth. Places where food was previously grown will no longer support agriculture, and places that were previously inhabitable will no longer be habitable. Wet bulb temperatures of 50 degrees Celsius that extend for weeks will kill hundreds of millions of people in places that were previously just hot. Desertification will follow. Number 8. There are these things called gamma ray bursts that happen all across the universe and release an ungodly amount of energy. If one were to happen within a few hundred light years of our solar system, it could completely eviscerate our atmosphere and kill us all. And there's zero way to detect them, nor defend against them. Hank Green made us sure about these things. Number 7. The ovaries are not attached to the fallopian tubes. They actually eat the egg across a small void, and the fallopian tube shows it in the door with little flanges. Because of this gap, while rare, it is possible for a fertilized egg to escape into the abdominal cavity and attach itself to other organs. The bladder, the liver, anything really. And because embryos are very innovative parasites that excel at evading the carrier's immune system, they can develop and wreak havoc. On that same note, the void also allows sperm to escape and swim around in the abdominal cavity until they die 5 to 7 days later. While harmless, it's still a little disturbing to think about having sperm in your guts, I'd imagine. Number 6. The Lissa virus has been plaguing our species for thousands of years. Once contracted, the virus hijacks your nervous system to travel to your brain, much different than a normal virus. By this method, it remains completely undetected by your immune system. This process can take weeks to months. Once the virus reaches your brain, your immune system is put into overdrive as it can finally detect something is wrong. However, the Lissa virus continues to control your central nervous system and forcibly tells your cells to self-destruct as they arrive in your brain. The cells that it does not tell to self-destruct. It tells to sever neurons in your brain, causing confusion, lethargy, rage, and paralysis. At this point, the virus starts to move towards your salivary glands where it will attempt to infect another mammal. While this is happening, it reprograms your brain to make you afraid of water. You run a massive fever, you're dying of thirst, and your brain starts to swell, pressing against your skull. This pressure causes damage, and once a critical point is reached, your organs fail one by one until you slip into a coma and die. Once the rabies virus reaches your brain and you start experiencing symptoms, you will die, and there is nothing that can be done to save you. Over the thousands of years that the virus has been terrorizing humanity, killing tens of thousands of people a year, only around 50 people have defeated the virus in all of recorded history. Number 5. Each ejaculate contains about 100 million sperm cells. The fact that you exist was a 1 in 100 million chance. But multiply that by the fact that the egg that created you was one of about 6 million that your mother developed before she was born. So 1 in 6 x 1014. Now multiply that by the fact your father and mother chose that particular ejaculate to create you, and that number goes up by factors of hundreds too. Now consider the same numbers apply to your grandparents, both sets of grandparents, and 4 sets of great-grandparents, and 8 sets of great-great-grandparents, and so on into the distant past. Statistically, the chances of you actually existing are tending towards 0. Number 4. 40% of prostitutes in India are children. Holy shit, 40%. Number 3. It's a theory that the reason we can't detect any life outside of ours is due to the fact that all intelligent life is inherently self-destructive. It will crumble too fast for 2 separate species to be technologically advanced enough to communicate their existence to the universe. Number 2. We are currently at a mass extinction event. Not only are newer species going extinct, but the rate is accelerating exponentially. Edit for more clarity. This is the 6th, debatably 7th, mass extinction event. And while it's true that the previous ones were natural, there is an overwhelming amount of evidence to show that we are the cause of this one. Habitat destruction, deforestation, pollution, and the introduction of non-native species are all contributing factors. We've observed extinction rates skyrocketing the moment humans enter the picture. Every year more is added to the list, and the amount added to the list grows ever higher. Number 1. I met a woman in the 90s. My girlfriend worked with her at a charity. Really nice lady, like your favorite Audi type of person. I learned that she once had a child, a little boy. He only lived to be a few years old because one day while they were both playing in the garden, the boy picked up a snail and licked it. Can't remember if it was days or weeks later, but parasites had nested in his brain and eaten it from inside. What is more terrifying? That common snails can do this, or that your child can be lost so quickly and innocently while you are playing in the garden making memories. I will never forget that. I literally read about an outbreak of this in the southeastern US today. Wash the shit out of your veggies and don't eat snails and slugs. And that's all the 25 best stories. If you like more of this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.